what is the next step up from the AIM-9 Sidewinder? Hello guys, once again it's Matt. Thank you all the members and patrons. Make sure to subscribe. And guys, of course, the AIM-9M is a very powerful missile. But I would like to continue the series of videos that we started on the next generation of missiles, right? Explaining a little bit what are the options and what they would look like for the future of the AIM-9, and especially for the future of NATO-styled aircraft that use American missiles, right? Of course, we already did a video talking about the Python 4, but the thing is that most nations use AIM-9s, okay, as their short-range IR missile, right? A lot of nations use the AIM-9L, LI now with the Germans, AIM-9M, etc., right? And with that, of course, we have upgrades to these missiles to actually remain competitive in the future of War Thunder, and be sure that we will have these missiles. I don't think it will be that soon. I think where we are right now, it's a good place. I don't think they want to mess with the balance right now, introducing a new variable while they are still technically, balancing it out, the fox trees. It's not, for the game's sake, good to actually have too many variables when you are trying to balance something like this. So I would like to think that they are, still adding the AIM-120s and stuff, and they'll probably change BRs and change the missile performances. They are all always changing a little bit here and there of all those missiles. And the AIM-9s and R-73s and stuff, they are fine in the way that they are. The R-73, for example, being one of the best missiles in the game in the terms of dogfighting, and the AIM-9 being one of the best missiles at long ranges, for example. Technically, I'm not gonna say long range, but you know what I mean, right? For an IR missile. Although the R-73 seems to be kind of bugged sometimes, but still. So what would it look like? What is the next step up for the AIM-9s? What it would look like if we eventually get these missiles, or rather, when we get these missiles, right? Because when the 4.5 generation of aircraft and even 5th generation of aircraft get to the game, that I still believe that it will get to that, we will have new AIM-9s to be on par with the performance of these new aircraft, right? So I think we have three options, of course. The AIM-9M, of course, could be upgraded to the later models at first. The AIM-9M that we have right now, technically, it is kind of an early middle variant of the AIM-9, right? It would be an AIM-9 that still turns 30 Gs. Apparently, later models could turn 35 Gs. And of course, it would be basically that, but of course, changes to, for example, increasing the flare resistance in the infrared seeker could happen. The engine and guidance sections would be upgraded. Minor upgrades like the AIM-9M8 and AIM-9M9, which are respectively Navy and Air Force versions of the later models of the AIM-9M, right? So again, it would turn a little bit more, it would have a little bit of a better seeker, and it would be just a better missile overall in the guidance system, right? So that could be a thing. Would it change too much from what we have right now? No, we wouldn't. Some people might even say that we need this missile right now, but it would be very similar to the AIM-9M that we have. Again, the main thing is that it would turn slightly better, having a little bit more flare resistance, but not by much, Of course, later we have the AIM-9R, a missile that was never actually produced, but a missile that would be very similar to the AIM-9M in many regards, including the engine, turning capability, and just overall explosive and guidance sections. But the main thing would be that it would be the first AIM-9 to actually use a imaging system to actually use as its guidance system. Why is that a good thing? Well, that's the thing. The evolution of missiles kind of went to that direction to this day. TV systems that are basically very sensible and very sensitive to actually lock onto the image of a target, meaning that they can actually ignore a lot more flares. Are they unflareable? No, they are not, okay? They are still missiles that are being able to you can still, you know, fool them. It's just that it's going to be even harder from what we see right now. It would be a different type of missile with a very, very small FOV technically, you know, so the flares would be very hard to see, and of course the imaging system would be, you know, used to actually be able to lock onto the imaging, the image of the target. The problem with this is that apparently the AIM-9R was only able to be used in the daylight, so that's the problem with these early imaging systems. You know, it wasn't sensitive enough to actually be used at night times. But yeah, it would be basically the same missile, the AIM-9M, you know, /8 or whatever, but with an imaging system, so being very much, very, very hard to flare. But as we know, nothing is perfect, and it would still be able to be flared, but a lot harder. And then of course we have to talk about the main missile that I think will be the next step up. The AIM-9M8, I mean, an AIM-9 could actually be added, but would be basically the same from what we have right now with small differences. The AIM-9R is a very interesting missile, but it's a missile that was never into production, and Gaijin tends to try to use missiles that are, you know, more into production and stuff, and it would make more sense for the next generation of AIM-9 to be added in the future. The AIM-9X, of course. The AIM-9X is a completely different beast. Of course, it is still based off of the same, you know, type of missile, and it actually, you know, it uses kind of the same platform from being developed as the AIM-9M, of course. But the thing is that the materials, the seeker, everything got a little bit different. The main thing that you need to worry about is that the engine, although very, very similar to it, it would be a little bit different than AIM-9Ms, you know. It would still be a little bit better. And of course, the turning capability because of thrust vectoring. So you would be the first AIM-9 to actually have thrust vectoring, having up to 50 Gs in turn. So it would be a missile that turns the same as an R-77 or Mika. So we can kind of understand that it's not that far from the game right now. The only main problem with this is that it would be a lock-on before launch, you know, so it would be a missile that you have to lock to actually be able to fire. It would still be very, very good, and it could do 180 turns. So it would be a very deadly missile, and of course with helmets and stuff, it would be one of the most deadly missiles that we would see. Of course, don't think that this missile would actually be added alone. Apparently entered in service in 2003, but of course R-74Ms or R-73Ms or Mika-IRs and IDSTs, other missiles like that, Python 4s, they would be added together with this missile, even the Python 5 maybe. But yeah, it would be a missile that it has the range of the AIM-9, but the normal AIM-9s, you know, but of course with the thrust vectoring and the amazing turning capability that a thrust vectoring kind of brings. And the last thing that this missile actually upgraded was, of course, using a system like the AIM-9R, right? It would actually use the imaging system as its seeker, so it would be able to ignore flares a lot more than the normal IR seekers, okay? It would still be able to be, you know, fooled by flares and stuff, but of course it would be a lot harder since it's locking to the image of the aircraft and not to the heat source. But it still can be fooled, depending with maneuver and stuff. There are even, I mean, I'm not gonna get too much into it because people are very sensitive about this subject, but there are videos of these missiles missing aircraft in real combat. So it's not like it's an impossible missile to avoid. It's just very, very hard and normally close to impossible, but not really that impossible at the end of the day from longer ranges. Of course, from up close it will be very, very hard, but oh well, we already have that in the game. Of course, we can have even later models of the AIM-9X with lofting INS, lock-on after the launch, data link and stuff like that, but obviously we're not there yet. So we need to wait for at least the first AIM-9Xs to be added so that we can actually think about anything else. And this would it, guys. This is it. This would be it, sorry. These are the three options that I think Gaijin has for the future of the AIM-9. You have to think about it that later AIM-9Ms might be already in need to have in the game. The AIM-9R it's never been produced, so it's problematic. So the AIM-9X is probably going to be the next step up. Of course, not right now, but in the future. With many counters to be added together with it, right? Let me know in the comments what you think about the AIM-9X and if we are close to it. I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe and bye. See ya.